Multiple reports on Friday indicate the Phoenix Suns are not only interested in Bronny James, but could get a workout with the son of a potential NBA GOAT. On today's episode of Locked On Suns, what is Bronny as a player? Is it a package deal with LeBron? And how far-fetched is all of this? Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 7 seasons and the host of the Just Basketball Show, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Memorial Day weekend. A bonus end-of-week show for you here on Locked On Suns. Wherever you're finding us, hit follow or subscribe. We are free and available everywhere, including YouTube. Hit that button. Get a new episode in your feed every single Monday through Friday. Become an everydayer. Get locked onto the Phoenix Suns all off-season long as the news continues to fly. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right. So, both of the biggest NBA insiders, Shams Charania, Adrian Wojnarowski at Athletic and ESPN respectively, reported today on Friday that the Suns have interest in Bronny James as they hold the number 22 overall pick in the NBA draft this June. And in addition to the Lakers and the Pro Day, where all teams are able to come that Bronny participated in, he is expected to actually work out for the Suns. Now, that might sound unique, but remember, he's LeBron James' son. He is a little bit of a fringe prospect in the first place, and his agency is Clutch Sports. So they're going to be choosy. They're going to be selective. The other news today is Rich Paul went on the record to Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes saying he will not sign Bronny to a two-way contract and kind of put his fate in another team's hands. Obviously, a lot of ripple effects we could see from this. We will get to LeBron James. We will get to what this sort of nugget coming out even means for what the Suns are thinking about when it comes to the offseason later. I want to talk about Bronny first because he is a prospect. He is an NBA caliber player and somebody that we can't just treat like a golden ticket to the LeBron James sweepstakes, okay? So maybe some of you are in this same boat. I was able to see Bronny at Desert Financial Arena against the Arizona State Sun Devils back in, what would have that been, late January. And it was pretty cool. Isaiah Collier, is that his name? Yeah, Isaiah Collier, who is going to be probably a first-round pick this year, was out for the Trojans. So Bronny started and was basically the primary playmaker, primary ball handler for USC in the game. Because Collier was out, and I believe another, Boogie Ellis, I think is his name, was also out in that game, the Sun Devils were trapping, pressing, making life miserable on Bronny, and it was actually a pretty interesting showcase, an interesting game to get to see of his, especially in person, and just the environment of the crowd being really into it. It was packed place, sold out arena, and of course, I mean, ASU won, and it's the son of LeBron. You're beating the son of LeBron. That's cool as a fan to get to cheer for. So everything was stacked against him. I used to pay much more attention to the draft back when the Suns were a high-picking team, and I was, going to ASU a lot to go watch players. I saw Anthony Edwards. I saw Lou Dort when he was on the Sun Devils. I would drive down to Tucson. When I watch this stuff, I'm not paying attention to stats. I'm not even really paying attention a ton, frankly, to matchups or any of that. It's isolating skills, trying to imagine how those skills can translate, and then evaluating all of that within the context around them. So Bronny, to me, I think if you're thinking of upside or sort of like what's a best case scenario, you're probably talking about somebody like Marcus Smart, or it's hard to come up with the comp. Like the Ringer has Davion Mitchell. I like that. Norris Cole, sure. Small point of attack defenders whose offensive game is shaky. Now, Bronny's only 19 and a half, going on 20, so there's time to grow there. But to get back to the game that I saw, 25 minutes, 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep, but most importantly, 5 assists, 3 turnovers. And when you talk about that offensive game and the fact that, yes, it does need to get better, I have optimism that Bronny is a player who can have a role in the NBA. His athleticism is legit. He is 6'2". I can't remember exactly what the measurement was at the combine. I believe it was about 6'1", 6'2". But I think you're hopeful that his athleticism and his physicality as a player, maybe there's a world where he can guard 1s and 2s, maybe 1s, 2s, and 3s. And of course, that's all dependent on who those actual opponents would be. I think he has the IQ and the passing ability, which he showed in the game that I was able to see him in, to have that at least translate offensively for him. Which is more than you can say for necessarily a Norris Cole or a Davion Mitchell, who they get a little bit lost because they kind of are, they hunt their shot because that's sort of what you got to do to stay on the court at lower levels if you're that small. Maybe they don't have quite the cerebral game, but you can tell Bronny is LeBron's son when you watch him from that context, the mindset, the reading of the game, the vision. And as a scorer, look, he looked better at the combine. People talked about that and everything else. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not just the three-point shot, it's also the finishing and just the ability to put the ball in the basket. All right? Like he shot from 2-point range as a freshman, age 19 at USC, 48%. 68% from free throw range. So that's the biggest inhibitor of what he can be as a player. 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, though, and was able to pile up a 2.3 steal percentage. Not bad. And, again, showed those flashes. What's funny is Davion Mitchell as a comp is a lot of what the Suns need, in theory, to fit alongside the big three. Now, will Bronny even be ready by the time this current incarnation of the Suns would even be playing together still at their peak? I don't know. And that's where some of this does start to get you toward LeBron. Maybe it's a future play. Maybe you do believe in the talent if you're James Jones or Matt Ishbia or anybody else, but there has to be a part of it that, of course, is done with the mindset of can you get LeBron at the same time? And we'll get there in just a second. But to return to the Suns and this draft and this rumor, this report, 22 is higher than Bronny probably should go in a vacuum if we are just operating based on value and upside and theoretical growth. I poked around at some of the, independent draft analyst people on Twitter and YouTube and independent websites and whatnot, as well as The Ringer and ESPN and the bigger places. I think generously you would put it that Bronny is somewhere between 50 and 75 in this class. The Suns don't have their second-round pick because they tampered to get Drew Eubanks, which is something that cannot be stated enough as a major swing and miss when you already were so asset-stripped. But that is done, and there's no going back from that. So 22 or some sort of trade into the second round, or maybe you trade back from 22 to get a second-round pick. But hey, you're also losing the leverage now because this is out. If you try to maneuver, teams are going to have you buy the shirt a little bit in order to make you pay up to do that, to do any of that, because they're going to say, hey, well, if you're going to get Bronny out of this and potentially LeBron, we're not going to help you out there. 22 would be a massive reach. It's no sure thing. He is an NBA player, even if the tools do seem to be there for him to play bigger than his size and develop an offensive game. He's not a bad athletic prospect, basketball player prospect, but he's probably not a good enough one to draft at 22, unless the Suns do see it as a package deal and are able to get some smoke signals that that is what would happen. I understand how ridiculous that all sounds to just say as a matter of fact that it even could be a package deal. So we'll get into the likelihood of all of this coming together. Still a month out from the draft. Coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by the Gametime app. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the work out of buying NBA tickets. If you want to go out of town, maybe catch a game in Dallas, a game in Minneapolis, I believe they have WNBA tickets galore as well, to catch the Phoenix Mercury with Kalia Kapoor, who looks like an MVP candidate right now. Gametime's the place to go. Right after I'm done recording this, I'm actually shooting off to a concert to celebrate a friend's birthday on Friday night in downtown Phoenix. Got those tickets through Gametime as well. So it's not just sports, it's not just concerts, honestly, either. Comedy, theater, and more. What I love about Gametime, beyond all of the tickets and the cheap prices, is the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Save a lot of money. Check out everything going on in your city. It's all right there. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's keep the show rolling. Let's talk about LeBron James. Yes, it is a Phoenix Suns podcast, and somehow on May 24th, it's not out of the realm of possibility and not unreasonable that I'm saying the name LeBron James on a podcast. Okay, fair. Maybe it's not out of the realm of possibility, but is it in the realm of possibility? I think that's a good question, and so let's answer it. In a nutshell, no, I don't think it's ridiculous. I don't think that it is insane, but I don't think that it's likely. I still think the most logical thing is that LeBron James comes back. I think that he has a player option. He is 40, and he is in a situation that he's comfortable in. So maximize your earnings. Stay with Anthony Davis and a roster that you're comfortable and familiar with. The Lakers do have ways to upgrade. They're hiring a new coach. And of course, LeBron has been based in Los Angeles even during part of his Cavs tenure the last time. So that's home now. All right. Now, LeBron, we don't know the answer of what he's going to do. Okay, we can't. Phoenix is pretty close to LA. The Suns need a point guard. They need some size. It's not the only factor that matters. LeBron has made that clear, as has Bronny. This whole summer of 2024 is not going to be centered on and built around LeBron going scorched earth to play with his son. I think in order to sort of let him be his own man, let his draft process play out in relative sanity, even though that's mostly impossible given who he is, as we've already seen, it still has to be in LeBron's mind. It still has to matter. If it could work out, he would sort of be silly not to explore it, right? So LeBron right now is eligible to sign a 3-year, $162 million contract if he opts out with the Lakers. If it's a 2-year contract, it would be 2 years, $104 million. As a reminder, if he signs with the Suns, he's taking a minimum. There's no way around that. Because, I mean, I guess in theory he could probably sign for the exact amount or just less than what Yusuf Nurkic makes and do a sign and trade. Oh, no, the Suns cannot acquire players via sign and trade. So this is a minimum. This is a minimum. Now, as far as the Lakers side of it goes, there's other alternatives here. Picking up his player option, signing an extension in August for 2 years, $113 million. All the Lakers side of it is how long does he want to be there? What kind of flexibility does he want to have? And how much money can he get? If he's opting out and exploring a situation like the Suns, it is basically, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's sort of ring chasing. It's LeBron ring chasing. It's LeBron ring chasing and sun chasing, I guess. And Suns chasing. Get me? Haha. All right. So, finances out of the way, priorities established, the Suns, Phoenix, a minimum contract, all of that, probably not priority number one. Probably not plan A. It can't be. Why would it be? It would be crazy. But he could go to the Sixers. Could, in theory, go to the Knicks. I feel like those are kind of the four. And even with the Knicks, you know, it's really far from LA. There's the CAA clutch rivalry. CAA runs the Knicks, or former CAA reps, very high-ranking people, now run the Knicks, whereas Rich Paul used to work there, left, formed Clutch. LeBron leaves at CAA, goes to Clutch with Rich, and are they going to sign themselves up for that? Now, they seem to have had some sort of meeting during this past season or something to mend fences. I don't know. I would put that probably even below Phoenix, because it's not like LeBron's going to necessarily sign a max deal there. It would have to be a sign and trade. There would be some mechanics. Is he really going to go to that team with Tibbs and play a bunch of minutes? And I don't know. As a basketball fit, I think I like it less than the Suns, and the money might make up for that, but the agency stuff might actually then drop it down below. The Sixers, I do think, makes a lot of sense just from a basketball standpoint. Be another ball handling option. Defensively, he doesn't have to do a ton because they're going to have some depth there, as well as obviously Embiid on the back line and everything else, and he can just sort of really be a third piece and pick and choose his spots. They have the money to just sort of sign him outright. And then, of course, the Lakers. Those are sort of the four teams that I see right now. As I look at the NBA draft order, all of those teams, of course, have picks where they could put a cherry on top of all of this and appease LeBron with selecting Bronny. You know, Philadelphia has the 41st overall pick as well as the 16th overall pick. The Knicks have 24 and 25 and 38. The Lakers, 55. So the Lakers drafting Bronny would have to be trading up from 55, I think. But he's already there. Maybe they don't have to go above and beyond to appease him the same way another team might have to sort of, and this too, by drafting Bronny. So here's the deal. I don't want to treat this like a nothing burger, because I sort of did that with Bradley Beal last year, and the Suns, to their credit, pulled a rabbit out of a hat. They got him. They have seemed to be in on so many of these guys the past couple of summers, whether that's Kyrie Irving or James Harden or LeBron or obviously KD and then Beal, that I can't say no, because if they're determined enough and get an inclination that it would make LeBron strongly consider a move to a city that is a 1-hour flight away and ready to win a championship, they would draft Bronny. LeBron would fit here. They've done crazier, more surprising things than that, I think, already. Even though Beal's not quite the level of player, it was less likely just given what we thought you would have to give up in a trade, and then the way that the no-trade clause and everything else worked out. That feels like a tighter needle to thread than even this. And they did it. It comes down to money, as it always does. If LeBron is in a point in his career with his Nike deal, his investments, his everything else going on outside of basketball, production company, and on and on and on, that he is truly, from a legacy standpoint and a PR standpoint, as well as a nitty-gritty nuts and bolts financial standpoint, willing to take a minimum contract to basically ring chase and achieve a dream of playing with his son, it very well could happen. But he wants to buy an NBA team. He's made no secret of that. So these contracts might feel like, what's the difference between 50 and $3 million? But that money's going to go directly to buying this Las Vegas team, we all assume. It does matter. So I don't feel like LeBron is at a point where he would truly do this. And until I hear differently on the money side of all of it, I kind of don't care about Bronny or the draft or the basketball fit. We've never seen a player who's still all-NBA, all-star caliber, playoff win-generating caliber like LeBron, even at 40, take that massive of a pay cut just for this. I got to hear more before I buy that would happen. But let's talk about what it means for the Suns and what they're thinking this summer. Coming up next. First, today's show brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is changing the game, making therapy more accessible for you, because sometimes, guys, we all carry around different stressors, big, small, otherwise. When we keep them bottled up, though, it can start to affect us negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get those things off your chest, figure out how to work through whatever's weighing you down. Usually I tell you guys about how I've benefited from therapy here, but I will tell you about a story that I was able to listen in on the South Beach Session podcast with Stan Van Gundy, who obviously was an NBA coach for a long time, and he discussed that he has basically been in therapy multiple times a week, as much as he possibly can, since August, when his wife unexpectedly passed away. And just hearing that strength and the stability with which he was able to even discuss it, and how I would not be able to do that, I just thought it was such a testament to the value of having somebody to talk to and processing your emotions even when it's hard. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, convenient, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with somebody, a licensed therapist, and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Alrighty, let's close out the show. So we've talked about Bronny. We've talked about LeBron. We got to hear more on the money side before we're going to believe too much of this, I think. However, what I will say is it tells us the Suns are leaving no stone unturned, okay? Which is good. I mean, it's obviously a big, obvious stone right now. It's not exactly reinventing the wheel to pursue maybe the best player in the history of the sport. Like, it doesn't exactly take a rocket scientist to think up that strategy. But the reason I sort of compared it back to the Beal idea is, you know, I did an episode this time last year where I said, here's the ideal Phoenix Suns offseason. And it was trading Chris Paul for, I believe, a package that would have included like Terry Rozier, and trading Ayton for some other stuff, and, you know, this free agent and that guy and everything else. Instead, they get an all-star, all-NBA guy in Beal. They build a big three, and they're in the second apron, and everything just changes. Obviously, with the way that the Suns are up against it right now under this second apron, and we're talking about, how many picks can they trade with this guy to get that player, and how can they upgrade this position, and can they really bet on minimum signings again, and should they take a player at 22? And it's hard to come up with a really high upside scenario for this offseason, of course. Duh. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that. If you've thought about it yourself for more than 5 minutes, you know that. Getting LeBron James on a minimum contract would be a home run swing. And it would be I don't even need to say it. It would be the best way to improve this roster with one single move that they could possibly make. Unless they're going to get, they're going to get like Draymond. Why am I saying Draymond Green? I meant to say Steph Curry just retire and void his contract and come over on a minimum like that. No, this is it. This would be the biggest thing. Now, if they're trying to draft Bronny just purely from a basketball standpoint at 22, and they don't get LeBron, and there's no path to them getting LeBron, I would be a little bit suspicious. Great, you have a G League team. Great, you're going to invest in player development, but let's still, be reasonable here. So I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but this did not leak by accident. Both Woj and Shams had it. They both took to Twitter and multiple different outlets. Like, when this type of news comes down so specifically and so widespread, it's not an accident. So, just like around this time in 2022, after Kevin Durant got swept by the Boston Celtics, and there was an article in the New York Daily News that I went through on this podcast that was like, hey, KD is not loving how these things are playing out. He didn't appreciate, he's doubtful about Kyrie and doesn't really love the relationship with the front office. And I said, hey, watch out. And last year, I was wrong, and we all should have been paying better attention to the Beal side of things, and a lot of you were. I think we have to pay attention to this. That's why I did a bonus episode here, and that's why I'm fighting against my instincts to treat it like it's ridiculous, and I'm just casually talking about LeBron James signing with the Suns on a minimum. I know that's crazy, but I'm doing it because they've done crazy things over and over and somehow been able to do it, and I think this owner, the investment from this owner, this market, this roster, this situation, even though they just got swept and even though it looks so bleak from a salary cap and a CBA standpoint, I do just believe that it's more desirable now than it was before. And maybe my brain is a little bit still in Robert Sarver, Game 7 against Dallas, whatever mode, and not enough in Ishbia, Big Three, Kevin Durant, great weather in the winter mattering again mode. Either way, it's fun. It's fascinating. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I doubt the Suns will do media availabilities if they have a workout for Bronny. We may never even actually get a notification that it happens. That's not mandated, guys. Like, I know there's a lot of people out there who are always in the replies and comments of different local NBA reporters, Dwayne Rankin, whatever, here locally, where it's like, hey, who are they working out? What's going on? What do you think? Some teams announce that stuff, some teams don't. There's no rule that makes them do it. So this came out, I do think, strategically leaked to these insiders, but the workout could happen tomorrow and none of us would know it. And that's just the reality. So it's going to be leak season. It's going to be, smokescreen season and reading between the lines and hearing stuff through the grapevine season right now. But this news makes it a lot more interesting to be reading through those lines than I would have when we were talking about Chris Dunn, is what I'll say. Even if it doesn't happen, it speaks to this, I think, being desirable, this organization and brain trust continuing to think big, and more craziness. I say it every time since the offseason started. I keep, as I sign off, as the craziness continues and all that. I'm not joking. This is proof. All right, guys, enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday. Bronny, LeBron, just let those dreams swirl while you're having a good time with your family, taking a load off, hopefully, and we'll be back with more Suns Talk Monday. Hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll talk to you guys then.